Each candidate will have 1 minute of opening remarks. And we'll start with Senator Michael Roberson, and then continue down with Assemblywoman Michelle Fury, Mr. Andy Matthews, Dr. Annette Tejero, Danny Tarkanian, and retired Colonel Gary Powell. Michael, you start.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. Appreciate this opportunity to talk about my candidacy. I am running because I have the record of being the most accomplished conservative in this race. In the last 6 years I've been in the state Senate. We cut more from our state government budget than any state in the country on a percentage basis. We cut taxes on 95% of all businesses, every small business in the state, tax cut. I helped James Settlemyre pass legislation to put the property tax caps that you all enjoy into the Constitution. We are currently the 5th best tax climate state in the country for businesses, and we are currently spending at 1992 state government spending levels on a per capita inflation-adjusted basis. This past session, I led the charge to enact sweeping collective bargaining reforms, the most significant reforms since public sector collective bargaining was implemented in 1969. I sponsored the most comprehensive reform for our public pension system since it was created in 1947. I passed 6 different tort reform bills and then education reform. We passed the most comprehensive education reform of any state in the history of this country this last session. It was a session that every Republican should be proud of. A session of historic conservative victories, and I'm running on my record as conservative. Thank you.
Assemblywoman Michelle Fury.
Thank you, and thank you for having me here. Thank you guys for coming. So, I am going to tell you that I'm not a campaign conservative. I'm actually a real one. So when I say I'm not going to raise your taxes, I have the record behind me to prove it. When I tell you I'm going to fight for you, just read the paper and you'll see me fighting for everybody. So I've served 2 terms in the Assembly and I've learned a lot. And I have to tell you, this presidential year, looking at the 2 top contenders, which are Trump and Cruz, that says that everybody across the nation is sick and tired of the establishment leaders that run on conservative principles and then govern like a Democrat. So if you want, thank you. So I don't have to talk about my record because it's there. NPRI voted me the taxpayer's best friend, and I got a 92% in front of that. Thank you.
Andy Matthews.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for being here this evening. You know, I've been in this race now for about 7 months, and I've talked now with thousands of Nevadans. There are a couple things I can tell you. One is that people are angry. Another is that that anger is entirely justified. We are in this situation today because the political establishments of both parties have thoroughly and systematically failed the American people. We have a federal government that taxes too much, spends too much, regulates too much, and spends too much time trying to run our lives instead of focusing on the things it needs to get right. And sadly, we have a Republican Party that all too often has failed to effectively fight that. What we need in this country more than ever is new leadership that understands the problems we face and knows how to address them. Proven, principled, conservative outsiders who can take on our corrupt political system and put forward the solutions our country needs. For the last several years, I served as president of the Nevada Policy Research Institute, a great free market organization that did exactly that. I've taken on the tax suspenders and the liberals of both parties here in Nevada. I'll do the same thing in Washington. Thank you.
Dr. Annette Tejero.
This doesn't have a cord, thank goodness. I am Dr. Annette Tejero, and I am the most qualified candidate for Congressional District 3. And why do I say that? Because if you want passion, experience, and you want someone that is going to unify this party, I am the candidate that we're talking about. You know why that is? Because I have several qualities that none of my other opponents have. It's very important for you to realize that if we are going to turn Nevada red, if we are going to make it so that our Republican presidential candidate, our U.S. Senate candidate, and all of the Republicans on that ballot win and take victory in 2016, you need something that makes everybody vote. And I am that person. I have those qualities, along with everything else. Why? Because if we want people to shatter the labels that are put on us by the liberal press or whomever else decides, the liberals that say that Republicans have a war on women, Republicans have a war on immigrants, Republicans have a war against the elite and the ones that are racist. If you want to break those things, then you need a candidate that is a low-income, bilingual, Latina doctor who has experience in the legislature, amending, testifying, and helping read legislation. Thank you very much.
Danny Tarkanian.
Well, first of all, I want to thank all of you for coming out today, and this is the presidential debate to be here. Now, I've lived in this community for over 35 years. My wife and I are raising 4 young children here. I run 3 small businesses. I've been very involved in the charities for this community, from the Tarkanian Basketball Academy, to the Tark Toy Drive, to the Hope for Prisoners, and the Follow the Sports program. I love this community, and I love our country. And as with many of you here, I'm disgusted by the politicians who promise one thing when they run for office, and then once get elected, do the complete opposite. And I am disgusted, as anybody who's followed the past legislative session would be, in watching how the Republican-controlled Assembly, Senate, and Governor's office failed the conservative movement. Ladies and gentlemen, our country is at a crossroads. We can either continue down the current path and be another footnote in history of a great nation that was destroyed from within, or we can embrace the conservative values that have made our country the greatest country in the entire world. Help me get elected, and I'll fight with all my might to restore those conservative values and principles that's made our country the envy of the entire world. Thank you very much.
Retired Colonel Gary Bowers.
It's actually Carrie. Good Irish name, Carrie Bowers. Why am I running for this office? It's plain and simple. I love my country. I proved that I love my country for 30 years as a combat veteran of the United States Air Force. It's taken me all over the world to see and do all the things that really I needed to see and do in order to be able to equip me not just to run for Congress now, but as many of you are aware of, I was also a presidential candidate until October of last year, a presidential candidate who never got the recognition by the national news media, but the only candidate to present to the United States and to its people a very important message, one called Restore America's Blessings. And you'll find that message on a card on your seat right now, and on the back of that is a 10-step process that we will go through to actually restore them. She's competing with me over there. Can you hear that? Barbara, you're online. I think she should reserve the balance of her time to me. What do you think? But on the back of that card, you're going to find a 10-step process. And one of the great things that we have available today is something called the internet. And when you go to my website at carriebowers.com, you're going to see what none of the candidates here have, or even the presidential candidates. And that's a detailed process of restoring those blessings, including 12 pieces of outlined legislation that I've already put out there for you to review and see exactly where I stand. Thank you.
Bill Perrine will be asking the first set of questions. They will be given 2 minutes to answer each question.
Good evening. The first question is for Colonel Bowers. Colonel, for the past 2 years, you've been running what could be called a quixotic campaign for President of the United States. When you failed to gain traction in that effort, you entered this crowded race in spite of having no experience in local politics or in the grassroots level. Why should we take your candidacy more seriously than the others?
Absolutely. You know, I've been asked before what qualifies you as a presidential candidate and what qualifies you now as a congressional candidate. And all you need to do is go to the website and look and see a plan. It's where I see where we're at and where we need to go and how I propose that we get there that will draw us back as a nation to the course that we need to be drawn back to in order to reach those blessings that our forefathers talked so much about in all the founding documents of the past. Now, why did I not make headway as a presidential candidate? Because I was not picked up by the national news media. When the national news media reported to you in April of 2015 that Senator Ted Cruz is the first Republican candidate to enter the race, it was all an entirely fabricated story. He was number 55. All 54 in front of Senator Cruz had equal legal standing, as did Senator Cruz. And I was one of those. What we failed to get then is the message delivered to the American people. And why am I doing this now? Because my wife and I, as we traveled for 2 years around this country, including 10% of the Central Republican committees that we spoke to in Iowa, we found that the message in every case was well received. It was right on target. But unfortunately, the news media would not pick up on that. Not a celebrity, not a former senator, not a former congressman. And you mentioned something about not ever having run for office. Did you know we have 2 presidents that never held any elected office before they became president of the United States? In fact, that was Dwight Eisenhower was one of them, and the other one was Ulysses S. Grant. Like me, they were military men. And interestingly enough, Dwight Eisenhower was the last Republican president that we as Republicans can point to and say there's something that came out of that administration we can point to with pride. That was the Eisenhower interstate system, and he was the last Republican president to oversee not 1, not 2, but 3 budget surpluses. Thank you.
Assemblywoman Fiore, you've been in the news quite a bit lately, but mainly focusing on just 2 issues, guns and the federal ownership of land. In Congress, you're going to have to address the full range of economic, social, and national security issues. Convince us that you have the breadth of knowledge necessary to do this.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. So yes, I have been in the news a lot lately, and I think as you read the articles, the biggest point of all of the stories is my fight for the people, period. So just as I fight for our Second Amendment right and our First Amendment right for freedom of the press and free speech, I will fight as diligent and as hard for everything that's important to you, your Social Security benefits, your Medicare benefits. So when it comes to sticking up and standing up for the people of Nevada, and as you see, I travel across the nation for people of Nevada, so I'll do the same for you. So there's a lot of folks that will promise you this is what they're going to do when they get elected. And everyone is a campaign conservative when it comes to a Republican primary. And I will tell you, I'm not going to make you any promises. I'm going to ask you to look at my record, period. And look at, I have been in the media, a lot. And it's literally been fighting for you, fighting for Nevadans, and fighting for Americans, and fighting for our U.S. Constitution. And I will continue to do so. And I don't have to sit here and promise you I'll do it, because I've done it, and that's just who I am.
Thank you. Mr. Matthews, This is, I believe, your first attempt to run for public office. You seem to be running behind some of the other candidates in fundraising to date. In order to keep your candidacy viable, you need to change this. How are you going to do it?
Well, first I'd like to ask all of you for a contribution this evening. You can do that by going to MatthewsForNevada.com. Phil, thank you very much. I did not ask Phil to ask me that. Right? Look, I'm running an ideas-driven campaign, and I do think that I'm uniquely positioned in this race to run on a record of accomplishment fighting for fiscally conservative principles. And one of the things that I learned during my time at NPRI, which of course is an organization that focuses on state issues, is that the root of so many of our problems really is Washington, D.C. And let me give you a quick story to illustrate what I mean. This was a couple of years ago. Actually, it was about a year and a half ago, during the 2014 fight over the margin tax. I called up a friend of mine, an NPRI supporter, a longtime Southern Nevada business owner, to see if he wanted to get a cup of coffee. And he said, well, Andy, you know, I'm not there. I'm in Wyoming. I'm not in Las Vegas. And I said, well, that's okay. Just call me when you get back, and we'll get together then. He said, Andy, you don't understand. I don't live in Las Vegas anymore. This man, a long-time, 30-year Southern Nevada business owner, had picked up and moved to Wyoming because he was tired of Nevada's growing tax burden and tired of having a target on his back from so many of our Nevada politicians. But then he said something to me that I'll never forget. He said, you know, Andy, even though I'm in Wyoming now, and even though this is a relatively low-tax state, I don't know how much longer I'm going to be safe here. And I knew exactly what he meant. What this guy understood is that the bigger and more intrusive our federal government becomes, the harder it's going to be to find any place in the United States where you can really be free to find a job, to run a business, and to pursue your idea of happiness without the federal government being on you every step of the way. These are the stories I heard from concerned patriots during my time at NPRI. This is what gave me the resolve to do something about it, and those are the experiences I will take with me to Washington. I will be outspent in this campaign, but I believe I've got the message, the principles, and ultimately I believe I'll have the votes.
Senator Roberson, as a majority leader in the state Senate, you helped to orchestrate the largest tax increase in Nevada history shortly after the people voted 80 to 20 against a similar tax. How do you justify that, and can you assure us that you wouldn't act similarly in Congress?
Thank you for the question, Bill. It reminds me of Ronald Reagan. I wonder if you'd ask him the same question, because when he was governor of California, he signed the largest tax increase in history of any state in this country at the time. But more specifically,
You're not Ronald Reagan. You go to the explanation why you raised the taxes.
I'm about ready to do
Wait a
that.
minute, please.
Whoa.
Give him the absolute answer.
So let's backtrack a second. For 2011, we cut state government spending by more than any state in this country on a percentage basis. $600 million out of a little over $6 million budget. Now, every conservative I know has said for years, if only you will reform the education system, we'd be happy to invest more money in education. Well, we passed the most comprehensive education reform of any state in this country. That's not according to me, that's according to the Wall Street Journal, the Las Vegas Review-Journal, many other publications all over the country. Now, what do we do on taxes? I doubt anyone in this room is paying higher taxes based on last session. We cut taxes on 95% of all businesses in this state. We permanently cut payroll taxes on 95% of all businesses. The commerce tax, which everyone talks about, affects 1% of businesses, and many of those are out-of-state businesses. Why do we do that? We tried to broaden the tax base because there are many out-of-state businesses who were paying nothing in the state. They were selling their products here, they didn't have payroll, and we're only one of a few states in the country with no broad-based business tax. So we tried to broaden the tax base. Do you know what those 1% of businesses will pay? On average, 0.16% of revenue above $4 million. And if they're an in-state business, if they have payroll taxes, they get a 50% credit against the payroll tax. So the net effective rate is less than 1/10 of 1%. So that means for every $1,000 above $4 million, they'll pay $1. Now I understand that people don't like taxes, but we are at 1992 state government spending levels, sir. 1992 spending levels. That's after the tax reform. We're at 1992 spending levels, and we were just ranked by the Conservative Tax Foundation as the 5th best state in the country for business taxes. But let me just finish. But when we came to the session, this last session, every economic development expert in the state said this: it's great that you're a low-tax state, but until you fix education, until you get a highly skilled workforce, businesses are not going to come here. And they've quantified that 35% of all businesses that were looking to come to Nevada ultimately said no because of our education system. We are going to change that. We're going to make this a better state for job creators and for kids in school. So I will not apologize for what we did last session. I am proud of what we did last session.
Thank you. You've been a fixture in Nevada politics for quite a while now, for a number of years, and you've run for office on multiple occasions without success. What are you doing differently this time to ensure your success?
Phil, thank you very much. First of all, I'd like to say that there's quite a few of us on this panel that has lost political races before. And there was nobody on this panel that's ran against tougher Democrats in tougher districts than I have. And I've taken each one of them down to the wire and made them spend a ton of money just to beat me. That being said, the reason I'm going to win this race is pure and simple. I'm going to be a steward of your people's money. And any money that's on my votes that are being spent in Washington, D.C., is going to be just like they're spending my money. I listened to Mr. Roberson talk about the tax increase. First of all, I'd like to say he just brought in Tesla and he brought in Faraday with huge tax breaks for them. They didn't come here because our education system all of a sudden got better in 2 months. They came here because of the tax breaks that Mr. Roberson just gave to those businesses. At the same time, he is raising the taxes for the small businesses here in Nevada. He's giving free tax breaks to everybody else. Furthermore, he's being disingenuous when he says 95% of all businesses are having a tax cut. That's not true. Every single business who has a corporation, an LLC, or any other entity filed with the Secretary of State is paying a 100% tax increase, including myself and probably many of you and your kids here. And Mr. Roberson has shown he doesn't understand how businesses are operating. He's probably been working too long in the law firm. But when you talk about gross revenue, no matter what percentage you take, it doesn't include the expenses that those companies have to have. So if you take a small amount from them, many of those companies are going to have to go under. Furthermore, when he talks about the tax increase to health education, they could put one single penny to pay for pay increases for teachers. Instead, he gave $100 million for the Zoom programs to try to teach kids who can't speak English in the same classroom with kids who speak English. They spent $25 billion for the anti-bullying statute to have some kind of committee that's supposedly going to stop 2-year-olds from bullying and at the same time has 9-year-olds share bathrooms with boys and girls. Look, I'm running for Congress because we need someone who's going to go back to Washington, D.C., fight for the principles, the conservative principles that make this country the greatest nation on the face of the earth. And the fact that I've lost, I'm still coming back and fighting, shows I'm determined, I'm resilient, I'm persistent, and I'll get things done like nobody else on this stage can. Thank you.
Dr. Zahara. Not unlike Mr. Tarkanian, you've run for office on multiple occasions, also without success. What's different about this race, and how are you conducting your campaign, and are you able to raise enough dollars to make an impact on the voters?
Thank you, Phil, for that question, and no, I did not feed him that question. First of all, I'd like to correct Mr. Tarkanian. I ran in the most Democrat district that there is in Nevada. 51% Democrat, 22% Republican. Guess what I got? 38%. 38% out of 22. That's a 16% crossover vote. And that's with a Libertarian and an Independent American Party candidate in the race that stripped off 5%. So you stand correct. The other part of this is we need to unify the party. We need something that is different, someone with experience, someone that can unite over 25% of the Hispanics that are in this state that will be voting and continue to grow voting in this state. I am the only bilingual candidate. I am the only one that is on Spanish TV regularly. I reach out to my people. They understand about conservative values, and we can cross them over. Mr. Roberson, honestly, I don't know how you can sit here and lie the way that you do. Mind you. Anybody else that's wrong with this? You raised the highest taxes ever in the history of Nevada. The highest. And after extracting the taxpayer protection club. So again, you lie. The other part is, those teachers that you talk about, they hate the laws that you passed. Because that measly little increase that they got in their wages is eaten up by the Obamacare that you passed. Yes, you passed the state part of Obamacare in this state. Ms. Fiore, I know you've been around the country, but there are problems here in Nevada. And you know what? We can't solve the problems by going and shooting people in the head and putting it out of their miserable little life. You have to do what's best for Nevada. And in order to have that, you have to be able to have experience.
Your time is up.
Amending.
Thank you.
So here we go. On the law.
You want to have a debate with me? You want to have a fight with me? The bell is ready. Put your mic down.
Dr. Zahara, your time is up. At this point, I'd like to give first Senator Roberson 30 seconds to reclama, and then I'll give 30 seconds to Assemblywoman Fiore.
Yeah, thank you, Phil. I'll just say, listen, there's a lot of talk tonight. My accomplishments are on this page. There's only room for 30 major reforms. That's a conservative record that no one on this stage can compare. And you can tear it up all you want, sir.
I will. You fuck the doctors in this community. Why don't you ask him what he did on Senate Bill 459 to take away all your painkillers?
So, as I was saying, look at my accomplishments. They're profound. It's the most conservative legislative accomplishments last session in the history of this state. And again, you want to talk about the taxes? 95% of all businesses received a tax cut. Dane Tarkanian is wrong, like he typically is. LLCs saw no increase in their business licensing fees. But it would take me all night to correct his misstatements.
Thank you.
Okay, so listen guys, 30 seconds. This is a debate for basically for us to explain to you why we would be the best candidate. And I find it very sad when anyone up here cannot run on their own merits and they just attack others. You guys know what we did. Thank you. You know what we did. Lots of class, mostly lower. I'm going to tell you right now, I run on my own merit. I don't sit here and tell you, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. I did it. That's what I'm going to say.
Okay, thank you very much for this first round. And as we continue, Barbara will ask the next round of questions.
Thanks, Phil.
Too low. Now I may be talking too loud. I don't know. But I'm going to ask very poignant, purposeful questions about Congress. The military has been significantly reduced, especially our Navy. Please explain to us in detail in what way you would support increasing our military. And I'm going to ask retired Colonel Carrie Bowers to answer that, please.
Absolutely. The United States government has three principal things that it's supposed to do. The whole reason for forming this union. Number one is defense of the nation. Number two is to regulate commerce between the states, to make sure that they're playing fairly with each other, and to make sure that we can maintain a fair and equitable process in trade overseas. Those are the three things that this country was supposed to do. Notice the first thing I said was defense. Obviously that's dear to my heart after 30 years in the military, and interestingly enough, my wife is also a military veteran. That's very unusual for a couple that's looking at going to Congress one day. When you look at the back of that card, the first thing you're going to see that was put out on your seat, at the top it says, restore the federal character of government. There is no question that today the problem with government, as Alexander Hamilton feared, has overreached into the national character. When we start complying with the enumerated authority in Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution, it is at that point that we will get back to having the defense we're supposed to have in this nation today. Thank you.
The next question I'm going to ask is to Danny. Would you consider getting rid of the IRS and putting in a flat tax?
Yeah, I absolutely would. In fact, in 2010, I ran for the Senate, and one of the things I felt very strongly was, let's get the fair tax, which would be a tax on the purchasable goods, or a flat tax. And the reason why both of them are so much better than what we have right now is we eliminated all the special tax breaks, the special credits that we give to the powerful, the influential, the privileged, at the detriment of all the hard-working Americans. We have a tax code of 86,000 some pages, and it's the vast majority of all those tax breaks go to the people that have the money, that are giving that money to the politicians that protect their interests. It's crony capitalism. We have something like that here in Nevada. We have a new market tax credit that was passed. Senator Roberson passed that bill. It gave $200 million in tax credits to businesses to come here in Nevada, and it's created 264 jobs. $900,000 per job, and the company got the largest tax credit was a guy who gave $2,500 to Senator Roberson's campaign. These are the things we need to eliminate, and these are the things we need people to go back to Washington, D.C. and fight for. Eliminate the special tax breaks, take the power away from special interest groups. Thank you very
much. We have to give each one an opportunity.
But if he keeps just making misstatements about my record, I do think I should be able to respond.
Okay.
Okay, first of all, the program he's talking about, I'm talking now, the program he's mentioning was supported by every single Republican in the legislature. It comes from Jack Kemp and Ronald Reagan. Remember enterprise zones? It's about investing in distressed areas of Nevada. And only $18 million of tax credits have been dispersed so far. It's estimated over the course of several years it will create thousands of jobs. But this is a tax credit program that was supported by everyone in the legislature. And I would just say that, you know, Danny's very good at giving you half-truths. Ask him for documentation from now on, because he doesn't have it.
Okay, thank you. First of all, he's ignored the fact that there is $200 million in tax credits that are promised to these companies. He hasn't disputed the fact that 246 jobs are the only amount of jobs that have been created. But the most telling part is, he hasn't disputed the fact that this company, who got the most tax credits, gave his campaign $2,500 right after he passed the bill. Look, these are facts, and facts are hard to get over, Mr. Roberson. Just because other Republicans passed a bill doesn't make it right. Surrender was passed, and I'm sure there's a lot of Republicans that probably gave those tax breaks out.
But they didn't absolutely. And I want to talk about who gives money.
Tax credits to the Mr. Roberson,
you take it from the taxi cab cartel in this state.
Mr. Roberson,
that's it. Done. Okay.
Thank you, Barbara.
Our immigration policy is not being followed, and there are presidential candidates that would give amnesty to illegals. Would you consider a pathway to citizenship for illegals? And Matt, would you answer that, please?
Actually, I don't know that anyone in their immediate family actually had someone immigrate to the United States like I did. My father came from Cuba. I know what the immigration process is. The first thing that we have to do, Barbara, is secure our borders. And it's not just building a wall. Everybody in this room knows that over 40% of the people that are here illegally come here legally on visas. We have to track the people that are inside of the United States. Until we do that, no one is going to ever be able to pass any immigration that makes any sense, because no one's going to enforce the law. Once that is done, we cannot allow people that have arrived here illegally to continue in the country ahead of people that came here legally. Therefore, we can't spend all of your Social Security money and all of your Medicare money to actually remove over 11, maybe even 20 million people out of the country. So we do have to negotiate that. That's absolutely true. But once someone has a legal status, how can we erase their right to be a citizen of the United States of America.
Would you support getting rid of the Department of Education and bringing the money back to the state? Andy, would you answer that?
Boy, that's too easy. You know, one of the things we focused on at NPRI was, of course, education policy. And it's an issue that's very near and dear to my heart, for that reason and others. You know, I've read the United States Constitution more than once. And I tell you, I simply cannot find in there anywhere any right for the federal government to be involved in education policy. So absolutely yes, I would eliminate the Federal Department of Education. I would get rid of Common Core. I would turn power over education policy back to our states and our local communities, because they are the ones who understand best the problems and challenges on the ground. If you're a parent with a child and you're in the Clark County school system, who's going to understand the needs of your child better than you would? Nobody. And who else is going to understand the problems that your child is facing? Maybe their principal, maybe the local school administration. But I certainly don't trust some bureaucrat sitting behind a desk in Washington, D.C. to direct a one-size-fits-all approach to education. Part of education, by the way, is not the only cabinet-level department I would think about shutting down. And I know we don't have time to get into that. But absolutely, we need to restore the 10th Amendment. We need to limit the federal government to its proper and constitutionally described role, and that does not include control of our education system. Thank you.
Do you support Israel, and would you support moving the United States Embassy to Jerusalem? Michelle?
100%. I support Israel, and we say yes, thank you. And we need to take our U.S. embassy out of Tel Aviv and put it in Jerusalem. So I've been to Israel. I've spent some time all over Israel, and I love Israel. So absolutely yes.
We are losing business to foreign countries. How would you help bring business back to the United States? Senator Roberson.
Thank you. First of all, we've got to lower the corporate tax rate. We're not competitive with other countries, 35% corporate tax rate. We also need to get those companies that are overseas now back here. We need to give tax forgiveness for the money that's already over there. And the other thing we have to do is we have to continue to do a better job educating our kids here in the country. We are getting beaten by countries all over the world in education. But the first thing we can do to help businesses compete is to lower the corporate tax rate and do something about these hundreds of billions of dollars in regulations that we face at the federal level. We've got far too many federal employees in Washington who do nothing but figure out new ways to regulate business. Here in Nevada, we have the lowest number of employees of any state in the country on a per capita basis. And when I came into office in 2011, the governor and the legislature froze or repealed hundreds of regulations. We continue to do it in 2015 by allowing Uber to come into the market, Uber and Lyft, because there were ridiculous regulations preventing them to come into the market. We wanted to open up the market for competition. That's what we did. But we've got to do the same thing in Washington. We've got to reduce the regulatory burden, and we've got to make the tax rate competitive with tax rates for companies in other countries.
You will each have 30 seconds for closing remarks.
1 minute.
We have time? Okay. You have 1 minute. Okay, let's start with Senator Roberson.
Thank you. I appreciate being here tonight. I'll finish up where I started. Look at my record of accomplishments. I sponsored the most comprehensive collective bargaining bill in the history of this state. I sponsored the most comprehensive and dramatic entitlement reform bill in the history of this state. I sponsored and passed 6 different court reform bills. I played a leading role in the most historic education reform session in the history of this country. And today, we are the 5th best state in the country as far as business tax climate. We're spending at 1992 spending levels. We're spending less today per capita than we were when I came into office in 2011. So whether it's sport reform, education reform, public sector collective bargaining, PERS reform, prevailing wage reform, we more than doubled the exemption from prevailing wage. So we're going to save millions of dollars. Projects now don't have to comply with prevailing wage standards. Public works, project labor agreements. We got rid of project labor agreements for most all government projects, which puts union contractors on the same footing as union contractors. I could go on and on. You all have the sheet there of the accomplishments. But I'm very proud of those accomplishments. Everybody here talks a lot. Look at my record. Look at what I've done. I ask you for your support. Thank you.
Assemblywoman Michelle Fury.
Thank you. So I just want you guys to, again, vote for me to be your next Congresswoman, simply on my actions. You know, as we debate, because we're going to have several more debates, one of the things that I'm going to tell you is I will run on my own merits and what I've done. With me traipsing around the country, if you were in trouble and they took you out of your state, you can betcha that I'm going to come get you. So don't forget that. I will always protect my people. So that is not a negative. So what I do, what I say, I do. And I just want you guys to understand that going to D.C., we have a land issue, we have a ton of Nevada state issues in this past legislative session, and every bill we would talk about, they would say, well, if we don't have matching federal funds, we're not going to do this. A lot of D.C. is in Nevada, so we have to go to D.C. and fix that.
Andrew Matthews.
Thank you very much, and thanks to all of you with the Siena Conservative for hosting us this evening. I just want to leave you with this. Now, you've heard a lot of conservative talk tonight, and you're going to hear an awful lot more of it in the coming months. And that's because everybody who runs for office as a Republican learns how to talk like a conservative. And we all figure out how to channel our inner Ronald Reagan when we're out on the stump and when we're asking for your votes. That's the easy part. What I want all of you to do is to tune all of that out. Judge us not by our rhetoric, but by our records. And ask yourself, at the end of the day, who do I really trust to go to Washington and to fight for our conservative values? Thank you.
Dr. Annette Tahara.
Thank you. I do thank all of you for being here tonight. Mr. Roberson, your donations are from Carson City and special interest lobbyists. Ms. Fiore, I know that you have interesting things to do everywhere, but you also voted with Mr. Roberson on the Faraday deal, which is government picking winners and losers. Mr. Matthews, I understand that you are president of MPRI. However, I do take something that you said as truth. But I ask each and every one of you not only to look at our records, don't look at the 15 years that I spent lobbying for you in healthcare. Look at my entire life. A low-income Hispanic whose second language is English, who paid for her entire way through college and through 2 years of medical school and paid off her debt within 2 years. A fiscal, responsible individual. Danny, your $17 million lawsuit shows that you did not do due diligence as a lawyer, and therefore we can't trust you in Congress, and you gambled $17 million of your family's nest egg, and we can't trust you anymore. Carrie, I want to thank you for your military service, and I want to thank each and every veteran of the bell means. Each and every veteran here to thank you for your service.
So I'm just going to make it crystal clear as we go through these debates that this chick here can't run on her own merits, and the only thing she does is attack all of us except herself.
Can I rebut that? Because I'm not a chick. I'm actually a medical doctor. I'm an anesthesiologist, and I've taken care of many people in this community, including a lot of seniors, for free.
So Barbara, what are the rules here? Is this closing statement or is this back and forth?
You're special interest matters.
I didn't include attacking one another. so that is to stop. Okay? We're
This
all
is to give
grown-ups.
other people a chance.
We're all-
He's special interest back. She
We're
doesn't
all-
have the money to compete with the special interests that are back in
We're all
Roberson.
grown-ups here, and we have to act like mature, potential congresspeople. Okay? So cut it out. The audience cut it out. All of you cut it out. I mean, Danny? Martin.
Thank you. First of all, I know my close high school friend, trainer at Gorman High School does not mean those things she's saying here. It doesn't, I don't take it to heart. Look at every single one of you guys in this room today. You guys all understand the importance of this campaign, this election cycle. You guys understand where our country's going and that we need to change the direction it's going. You understand that this congressional race is one of the most important races in the country, and that we need to continue to hold the Congress, the Republicans are controlling the Congress. And the more important than that, you want somebody to represent this district who's going to go back and fight for the values that you believe in, that you care about, and that you understand that has made our country the envy of the entire world. Give me the opportunity to go back to Washington, D.C., and as I mentioned, I will fight with all my might to make it happen. Thank you guys again for coming out today.
What this party has lacked for far too long is a proactive approach to this government. The Republican Party has become nothing but managers, and I argue this with anyone here, of liberal, progressive, and too often Democrat ideals and achievements. You can see that how we continue to support Social Security, Medicare, doing nothing on immigration, all those other things that impact us every day. The fair tax he talked about, I actually do the proofreading for Congressman Rob Woodall out of District 7, Georgia. I am proud to announce that piece of legislation, Fair Tax Act of 2015, now has more congressional and senatorial sponsorship than any other tax reform or replacement measure in Congress today. Immigration reform. I have written the American Immigration Reform Act. Well, it's not an act yet. Hopefully it will be one of these days. But I have written the American Immigration Reform Plan. It does two things. The first thing it does is it sets the conditions for putting up what we call opportunity and physical restraints. I've also written the American Government Reform Plan. I have also eliminated business taxes, corporate taxes through the fair tax in terms of the plan. And I know I've had the least, I feel like Dr. Carson a little bit here tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, what you're looking at is unprecedented. This is an act that I submitted to Congressman Heck and to Senator Heller on Monday. It is the first act that actually develops a national strategy for us to be able to combat the criminal ideological sects that we have around this world today. And I invite you to come and take a look at that. That is unprecedented.
Thank you very much. Well, I didn't expect attacks from one another. I think that was really unfair. I asked the question pertaining to Congress because you're running the Congress, not running to attack one another. So it really made me feel bad because I know that we're all very mature people sitting here, and I don't want to feel bad ever again because I want to feel good about each and every one of you who have the potential to be our next representative in Congress. Thank you. I want to give just a few minutes to Ken Minster. He's representing Joe Heck for our next senator from this district.
I won't even take a couple of minutes. I'll even stay in my time. I know. Guys, we saw a lot of disagreement on the stage here tonight, and that's what this is about. We're here to find our next candidate. It's okay for us to disagree. It's all right. It's good. We'll work together to find solutions, conservative solutions for our state. I'm representing Congressman Heck, who's running for the U.S. Senate. Can we all agree on at least one thing, right? That 30 years of Harry Reid is 30 years too many? I need help. These candidates need your help. I need your help by adopting your neighborhoods here in Siena. I can't come walk your neighborhoods here in Siena. I'm just not handsome enough. You guys, I need you guys to do it, and so we'll teach you how to do it. I'll give you a list of your neighbors. You can reach out to them personally. We'll tell you all that you need how to do it. We need your help this year. We're so excited to have your support. Come and take a picture with my lovely sign before you leave. We'll put you on Facebook. We'll make you famous. Come on over and see you. Thank you guys for coming tonight. We're so excited for this year.
That's all of what the candidates